Morning, as this weekend is closing to an end. Well, I mean, the Sunday's just started, but as far as like the thinly traded weekend, we're getting closer to an end. I'm a little short on time this morning, so this will only be about a 45 minute live. I can't help it. I'm going to go to church this morning, but I've got to walk out my front door by about 10:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time because it takes me about 10 minutes or so to walk up to church. Usually the Mass, it starts at 11, but they usually start, their sermon at like 11:05. I think they give people a few minutes to get in. So I want to go do that. Dan, I see that you're on your way to church right now. Have a safe and blessed trip, my friend. It's good to see some of you going to hear the word. Not saying that you have to go to church to be spiritual or anything like that. I like to go to see the kind of the way people's perception is now, and I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how to explain it, but there's something within there. But good morning. For anybody who just sat pat, didn't do anything when the weekend started, congratulations, because right now is not a trader's market. You just need to let it happen. We need to get into the 19th and 20th, which kind of sucks saying it, because the Bank of Japan, we know they're going to lower rates. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion that they should go from 0.50 to 0.750 and have at least a 25 base point rate cut. If they do something worse like 50, 75, it's going to be crazy. The last time the Bank of Japan cut in a fashion where, even though it is expected, with the way things are going, that everybody was kind of going on that same path of cutting, and then all of a sudden they announced they were going to raise rates. So if this mimics like in 24 when this happened, Bitcoin went down about $11,000 in a week. I showed it yesterday. So that was about 20% in 7 days. Now, I'm not saying that this is the same situation or the same circumstance, but we do have to be aware that 2-day meeting, I believe, is the 19th and the 20th. So is that going to crash crypto is the question. And there's a very good chance that could happen. So I think we really do just need to let it happen in this market. I kind of screwed over some people this morning on accident, because when I did my stuff, I still wanted to do the short this morning. So I put out my live that there was going to be a live, and then I did a short after in the last like 25 minutes while I was waiting for the live to start, because I still wanted to put the content out. But I do realize that might have been counterintuitive, and I might be blocking off, each avenue. So, but I guess everybody can make their choice this morning, so that's a good thing. But welcome in, everybody. Let's get into the business. Good morning. 10:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Sunday, December 14th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. It's going to be a very cold walk to the church. It's like 5 degrees out. It was like -11 real fill, so it's going to be a cold walk. It's going to be a cold walk. But XRP right now, nonetheless, at $1.99.2. XRP is still very, very predictable. A lot of people get mad about XRP. We talked about this on Friday. I think with all that news that came out, everybody's going to be expecting this immediate up. But what generally happens when this kind of news comes out, especially when you couple it with the ETFs, you generally go down first. I know it's counterproductive, counterintuitive, or even psychologically a mind fuck, for lack of a better word. Sorry for the kids watching. But it's true. These things happen. You end up getting these moments where you have, what I'm looking for right now is I'm looking for the ultimate mindset where a lot of people that were considering buying this market, or maybe would have bought it Friday, I want to see XRP psychologically take that entire crowd out. And it's not to be mean. It's not because I want them to lose all their money. I just know that we need some kind of liquidity that's going to reverse this market. So if we can use this liquidity, and maybe we do come down to the October 10th lows, some charts are suggesting it. Now, XRP is still in this bullish megaphone, in my opinion, and I don't think its chart is the same as everybody else's. And it's a bullish megaphone until it's not. Now, If we lose $1.80, then we can continue this discussion and say, okay, well, guess what? Now we're on the bottom side, and now it opens up the door to where we actually want it to go real quick. But we can't get there till we break levels. So right now, is this a bear flag? It is until it isn't. Small bear flag should bring us down to about that $1.80 to $1.85, assuming we lose the $1.99.9. And right now we're below it, but nobody knows if we're going to lose it. We got a little bit of false bravado on Friday because of the news that came out, I believe. But as I put in my title, I want everybody to just pay attention for a second. If you're watching this now, watching it after, and as a crypto influencer as a whole, I've been seeing other people talking about this, how our particular field of choice, so to say, on YouTube is getting very much shadow banned in the USA. I don't want to speak on that. Well, I do a little bit, but I see some influencers that are at 100, 150, 200,000 are getting, when they used to get 10, 15, 20,000 views, they're getting like 1,000, 2,000 views, and they're starting to talk about it now, how like their content isn't going around. And it makes me wonder, like, are we doing better than the average then if we're still getting around, similar to what we were? It has dropped a little bit, there's no doubt. But I think we do pretty well. I think it's the core group that allows us to at least get out there. But I've definitely noticed, even in my searches on Facebook and on YouTube and stuff, I'm getting very much shadow blocked from seeing crypto content unless I seek it out. So I definitely can understand that, because as I started to search for it, it does make sense. I wonder if any of you are noticing that, or if it's just me because I'm actually an influencer and they're trying to block my path, but they want to make it the path of most resistance for me to get to my audience or to see similar topics. But it's an observation I've made over the past couple months. But now I'm starting to see people talk about it, so it's interesting. But also, it could just be the prices dropping and people lost interest. It's just like every other cycle. When people lose interest, less people watch. Like, that's the thing. Some people say, well, why is there a big rollover rate for crypto influencers? Well, think about it. If somebody watches me and they follow me and they really do appreciate what I do and they like XRP, and then all of a sudden for the last 7 months, they're losing money. Maybe they lost the money they had to trade. But after a while, if you're not trading and you get sick of something, you're not going to watch somebody. No matter how much you like them, you don't want to watch it. So we have a big turnover rate for sure. We have a turnover rate. But the good news is, if you're good at what you do, when things start going back in the positive direction, they'll come back. People come back. So that's the faith I have going forward. Like, we went to 48,300 subscribers now, so it might be going slow, but at least we're moving up 100 at a time. Every week or two we move up 100. So even in the slow times, we're still gaining a slow but surely, we're gaining a new audience. So it's something. But anyhow, you see what's going on with XRP here. This orange line is very important, because that's the line that we need to stay above if you don't want to start taking out that lower liquidity. We talked about it a lot yesterday. I'm going to change it from orange. It's got to be more decisive. Now, how is anybody going to see that? That's definitely the least decisive color I could have picked. Pink, there you go. It's got to stay above the hot pink line. I like that color. I've always liked that hot pink. I'm not going to wear it, but I like it. I don't know. I would put it on something. I couldn't wear that color as clothes. I think it's just not a snappy look. Not for me. But I don't mind it as a whole. So we need to stay over. In my opinion. This is my opinion, of course. 198 or so. No, I don't want to wear hot pink. But I like the color. If you bought me it, I might wear it. Define Group welcome in says, hey everyone, hit that like on the way in. Consider subscribing and joining Tom's Army for the best technical analysis on YouTube. Every day you are not in the Telegram, you are missing out. Why wait? I love the Telegram. I would say one thing to the Telegram, let it happen. I know we can make every single narrative of why we want it to go up, or every reason why we want it to go down, or every reason why it's bull. Guys, You're in a bear market. Just let it happen. I love all the fun we have. If you're a leverage trader, pucker up. Because no matter if you're up or down, left or right, I keep talking about it. They're taking them out of maximum pain, which means they're trying to take the longs and shorts, anything. And I love what MQT says. Scotty Trades, formerly known, I think he's Furby Trades in here or some shit that he keeps changing his name to. I can't keep up. He's Furby 1 minute, MQT, Scotty Trade. I don't know what the hell's going on anymore, but YouTube keeps changing the names. But he's so spot on because even when he talks about leverage, he's MQT in the Telegram. Whenever he talks about leverage, he says if you go above 2x, you're gambling. And he even talks about to the extent that even 2x can feel like a gamble at times. But from a trading perspective, the odds of the market dropping 50% in a second without you having some kind of recourse it's basically slim to none. Did we on October 10th drop 65%? Yes, we did, and that's the anomaly. So nothing's safe in those scenarios. That's why he considers it gambling in a sense. But anything above 2x, I think anything above spot trade, even spot trading's gambling in freaking cryptocurrency. Let's be honest, we're in a risk asset. Is the US dollar getting stronger or weaker? Weaker. That's a negative on risk assets. Is gold and silver going up or down? Well, they're going parabolic. That's not good for risk assets. Is the government raising or lowering rates? Well, they're lowering rates. That's a negative for risk assets. Is the government doing quantitative tightening or quantitative easing? While they're doing quantitative easing, well, that's a check for risk assets, but only after it goes through the Treasury and T-bills and then finds its way to cryptocurrency and risk assets, which usually there's about a 2-month gap there sometimes. However, they started quick this time, but still it's got to go through the proper channel. So to me, as they fund the T-bills, they drop cryptocurrency, the biggest risk asset of all. They buy it on the dip after they already have done, so they're the buyer and seller of last resort. They get into the repo and reverse repo markets, which most people don't even know there is a reverse repo. Or a repo market for that matter. Most people don't even know that there's a bond market. And talk to your constituents, my friends. In here, we're not the normal people. That's why it's fun to be in here. We're talking amongst, a crowd that understands what we're talking about, but you notice how small the crowds are. The good thing is now we can still stick around. We have, 88 people in here right now on a Sunday morning, and it'll start going to 100 and 110 and 120 the longer we're in here. But remember what used to happen? We'd be at 30, 40, 50. And then it built up higher. So more and more people, 97 in here, I guess, it updated. But more and more people are still finding interest to be in here, even when we're in the bearest of bearish. Because they're starting to learn that if we can time this properly, not just because of watching me, because I'm not a financial advisor, but they have their own fundamental understanding that if you can time the market properly in a bear market, it's not about, at the end of the day, it's about timing the market instead of time in. But once you time the market properly, it is all about time in market. Because you've got to sit through the up and down, left and right, punch in the face, drop your shorts. It's all those things. Unfortunately, when you go to pick your shorts up sometimes, you got to put a paper bag or a newspaper around you temporarily until the price recovers. But that's what you have to do. So a lot of people are starting to learn this. So, but right now, I know a lot of people are saying Bitcoin, because of the heat liquidity map, has to go back up. It doesn't, not yet. It could go back up, and I'm not saying it's not going to, but let's watch to see what we do here on Sunday. I think there's a very good case to be made because we're very oversold right now in the 4-hourly. And the fact that we're above this, and let's change this to the hot pink line. We're going to say the hot pink line is our... Oh, son of a bitch, I just deleted it. That's okay. But that was technically our... We need to stay over this line. What is this thing doing? Look at this. It's not even working. I hate YouTube sometimes. I guess it put it to that. But I wanted to use the arrow, the other one. But I guess we can use that one because it came back. I mean, I hate trading these sometimes. Well, I hate YouTube sometimes too. But that's the line right there. Yesterday it was 89,451 approximately. This is the reason why this is so important is because when you were over this line on Bitcoin, you could make some runs. When you get below it and get rejected, you come down. Get rejected, come down. Above it, trying to hold it. So now we're in a transformational moment where we could be trying to break out of this entire region, which would go all the way back up to the rising wedge breakdown. But that's why we need to make sure. That's why we need to make sure if it holds. That's why if you have money on the sidelines, let it happen. If this holds and proves that this is bullish, be a perfect time to strike. But you got to make sure here, because with what the Bank of Japan's doing on the 19th, the daily on the stochastic is pushing down on Bitcoin. The 4-hourly is massively oversold, which is good. It's in good positioning. You know, all of these lower time frames are in good positioning for a strike move. There's no doubt. 2-hourly can come down more. 3-hourly can keep trending. Daily can continue to come down. Like if the daily could pour out, if we could get one big dump, the monthly would benefit from it. I almost think it would be better just to fill these targets out first, but we know it's not going to happen in one drop. And plus, we're just kind of shellacking it right now over the weekend because it's thinly traded. We have the Chicago Mercantile Exchange for XRP that closed at $2.55. So we're about 1 cent below where the CME gap is right now. It's good to gap below because then you have something to look forward to above. But we've got a big mess here still. We really do. The total crypto market cap is getting close to the old Mendoza line, as for anybody who's following me. Once you get below the old Mendoza line, and it continues to stutter down a little bit as we go farther. But right now the old Mendoza is at 2.9 trillion. You get below that, and that's when we hunt the technical drop. When we lost the actual rising wedge area, when we broke down out of this, our technical target's 2.52 trillion. We're a $500 billion away from that target right now. So we've got some movement to the downside if it validates this drop. And honestly, we need it. Do you know how beneficial this would be if we came down to 252, held it, and then bounced back out and did something like, hey, we held the 252, and now we're going to come back up and retest a 1.3 trillion move back up on the rising wedge. That's my dream scenario. Well, my dream scenario is we get a 30-minute to 1 hour extreme liquidity wick that comes down to the 1.9, pops back up in an hour to 252, knocks everybody's socks off to 2.7, comes back down to 2.35. Everybody gets pissed, and then it rallies all the way to 3.8 by Christmas. That would be my dream scenario. All of this happens in the next 6 days on the drop down. But hey, what do I want to happen? But I think in my title, let me just read this real quick before I forget. XRP below $2. Retail out of funds buying fake dip. And all I mean by that is, and I've been talking about it for 12 months, we had this big run up in January, and I told everybody, you take your profit there, but you don't buy more XRP. Done. It's over. Until we get back to a bottom, you cannot keep buying the fake dip all the way down. And that's not just XRP, but for the point of this discussion, because I'm XRP Future Millionaire, this is my audience. You know, we speak XRP a lot. It's what helped us build our capital for all of our mining stocks, for all the other cryptos that we can afford to buy after we get out of. Like I've told everybody, all my money's on the sideline right now, besides what's in what I have in XRP from the original buy in 23, because the one in 24 from 38 cents, that's been dispersed properly, and it did very well for us. Let's just put it that way. And you know, XRP Healthcare, we were in, we made, I'm not even joking for some of the new people, we were up like 40 something X in a series of months. Had the craziest jump I've ever seen. And then we just started buying more as it came back down to 3 and under, and it's been around the same area for a while. But for XRP, I really have a lot of capital right now for things. And like I said last week, and it was hard, but when XDC showed that little rally, we got out of it. Didn't buy on Winning Wednesdays this week just because of the downward volatility, if you noticed. And now we're targeting, if we can hold this 4.7 to look, but to me it looks like it wants to either come to 4.3, makes it seem like it wants to come to 419. The market seems like it wants to have one more hesitant dive to try to figure out if it's got the proper liquidity or if we need to come down for like a 40% drop. That's what I want to see, the proper validation. A lot of people bought in Friday and went balls deep and said, to hell with it. I don't need validation. I'm going to get a better deal. They got this early push up over the weekend. Like XRP got to like 204, 205-ish. But now they're sitting here on Sunday going, Jesus, Lord, I shouldn't have done anything. I should have just let it happen. And now you're below these key areas of support. We talked about another one that I was trying to warn. Remember the one who came on and I told him just to sell it? Even though I'm not a financial advisor, I went through every reason why they should sell it, even though they were down like 2%. Remember? Came down here and I said, you got to look forward to this back test. And it hit 9.1 and I said, just sell it. And then it didn't come up all the way, but I said, please just sell it. They sent me an email. Remember, we had this discussion? And I said, it's better to lose a couple percent. I don't know if anybody remembers this. They bought it in this little tug. Remember, they bought it like here because they thought it was a fake out back to the top side. And then they bought it and they were down like 3%. Remember, it came up and then it cut them to like 1.5%, 2%. And I said, just sell it because that's you just happen to buy the rejection point. And I didn't want to say names. And I said, you're going to appreciate it now if you just get rid of it, if you don't want to hold it, because that drop is going to suck. And now if they didn't sell it, they're down 10%. Now imagine they would have sold it. And now it's 10% cheaper. It came down to that support structure area, but now see it fell below. So that was the risk. So now if they were 10% cheaper, yeah, they might have been down 1.5% when they sold. But let's say they bought 100,000 tokens, down 1.5%. Now it's down 10%, they buy it back. They could have 110,000 tokens. Yeah, they might be down 1.3% or whatever in their portfolio, but now they got 10,000 more tokens. I don't think they really care. And this is the sad part too, because it's such a high volatile, very much a turnstile start retention type retention in crypto. Everybody who got the message from me, every cycle, I always get new people. So they don't know really how much to trust what I'm saying. And by the time the cycle's over, that's why you have a lot of people that are in Tom's Army for 2, 3, 4 years. Because they were somebody who was skeptical, like the ones in the group right now that are sitting here going, oh my God, I'm down so much money thinking I'm buying the back test. I should have just listened to this guy from the beginning. And I thought he was kind of off his rocker, telling me to sell when it was the biggest part of the bull market. And everybody's telling me that it can't go anywhere but down or up. And he's saying it's going down. I can't just, he's an anomaly. Well, now all of a sudden you fast forward 12 months, everybody who was a rookie is now a veteran and saying, I'm not going nowhere. I want to know when this guy actually buys back in because I've seen something here. And that's what ends up happening. It's happened to me every single cycle since 21. And I love it, but I also am heartbroken by it at the same time because I try my best. But I see it happen cycle after cycle. And I've talked about it in January that this was going to happen. People will buy the dip, assuming it's a dip because something's down 40%, not realizing you're buying a 40% drop after something's gone up 9 and 10x. So the bottom line is, like for XRP, it seems like you bought a dip because it went up to 360, 370, and now it's at $1.98. The honest to God truth is the only dip you had on XRP was October 10th. The only time I told anybody to buy was that big wick down when everybody said, now we just need to wait to see what's going on. And I said, no, you don't wait to see what's going on. You buy the dip. Because we liquidated before, you buy the big drop and then you let it happen. And then you, wherever that rebound ends up and you find where you need to sell, you sell it as it tries to recover if you want to do it that way. Or you just hold it until it comes through. But, you know, right now we have a chance of breaking out. But for XRP, now nobody, you know, it's a humbling lesson. Everybody, it's not everything that happens right now is humbling if it's your first time. It really is. I've been through this myself. So that's what that's the lesson. That's the lesson. And unless you go through it, you know, you've got to be taught. What's this? What's the news? Is it good or bad news?
Because I asked her if she was busy this Wednesday because they started with work.
This doesn't sound like bad news. She would have called.
Your
Well,
mom's coming over.
guess my mom's coming over. She said she has some news. For who, me and you?
Yeah.
Let's see. Saving up for more XRP. And I understand everybody is saving up for XRP. That's why, and it might go up from here, but we need to make sure that whatever is about to happen here, we've got to get through some very volatile moments. Defined, it's so hard to take your own advice, though. That's the hardest part. Because you've got that tug that says, hey, if you get out, you're going to miss this big parabolic spike. But I've learned, what I do is I just put it on the chart, and then I let the chart tell me right now, we're literally in the no man's land, because it looks like a little bear flag for XRP possibly, but we still need to invalidate it by coming through and making a new low at like 197.27-ish. We need to be below this downtrending line, but we are below the support structure right now. So, and then you can actually look at this and tighten this up a little bit based on what it's shown us. And it could offer another layer of resistance, even on this kind of a timing. But it's not going to change it much, but you can see how it could tighten this pattern up a little bit more. But there's so many variables in here right now that, because it's so oversold in some of these time frames, that we could have a very quick reversal. Now, for XRP, that 4-hourly is grotesque. Honestly. The fact that we did what we did this weekend to push it back up and get back into overbought, it's got plenty of room to come down if that does want to drop out to that $1.85. It's got plenty of room here, if not a little bit more. So I don't know. You just got to be very cautious if you're buying right here is all I'm saying. Even if you're selling right here, you want to make sure that it's the proper spot. You know, like that's the caveat here. Like, it's not just about buying, it's for the ones who are still going to panic sell. But like I've always said, it's much easier to get somebody to sell at a loss than buy more when they're down and find money. You know, it's harder to find money somewhere to buy more than it is to sell at a loss. Just always remember that. That's why it's always easier to get sellers to come into the market than find buyers mysteriously that are out there that haven't been in the market. Because to be honest, if you were watching the market at some point in this year, you would have thought that some of this was a dip, right? You got to look at other objectives, though. You got to look at other, like Bitcoin just continues to slowly slide down. Remember, it was just at 92, 93. That's why everybody who says it can just go back to 92, you got to remember, it just made that push on the 11th until Friday, and it did go up to 92 like you're talking. So some of that liquidity got smashed. You know, it got just taken out. And we came up to the 200-day many times here, and we have this unbelievably bad setup right now in the daily that at some point, if that bear flag plays out, it's coming to 72. And that's the technical drop, the short drop out of the rising wedge. Now, worst case scenario, we really could come to 59.5 and back test the cup and handle breakout. Anything below 59.5, in my opinion, you are in a full-blown crypto winner if it doesn't come above. I'm telling you right now, if we get below 59.5 at any point, you might as well just get the umbrella out, pack a bag, get the 10 out, because we're not even going to be able to afford toilet paper now. Now we're going to have to use leaves or something. Because if it gets below there, Michael Saylor and every other institution that bought in is legitimately going to implode. Every company that backed it is going to implode. Do I think we're going there? Likely not. Anytime soon, hopefully. But it definitely has the structure to break down into that area. No pain to gain. Love it, Brendan. Defines advice is like paying a shrink $800 an hour for them to ask you how you feel about it. I love it. It's true. You know, if I told you that trading crypto would be like having your nuts in a vice and having an electrical shock, you probably wouldn't have joined crypto. Maybe some would have, like Mike's Ox Smells, but he's not in here. But you'd have to know who that is to understand. But most of us wouldn't put ourselves through that voluntarily. But I don't expect it to do much right now because we're still in a thinly traded weekend. And, you know, sometime around 5, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, things are going to start to open back up a little bit. No doubt about it. Bitcoin, if we're looking at the below 90K right now, we were technically below 89K for a second there. But so Bitcoin still needs to get below. And we have this very short-term flag set up, I guess you could call it, or bearish setup if it breaks down. Still got a little room, but if we get into that red circle, that's like the liquidity circle of hell. Once it gets into that liquidity, you could literally be like, hey, I'm taking a walk, sinkhole opened. You know, it could be something like that. That's how I identify that red circle of hell. That's like a sinkhole. Just taking my walk, taking a jog, oh my God, what's going on? You know, like it just opened up. That's what it would feel like to Bitcoin's price. That could be like the liquidity sinkhole. Like just think about it. That's what it could be. Yeah. Hold on one sec. So I guess we have a little more time together this morning because I guess I'm not going to church since my mom's just randomly coming over. So I have to pray in private today. But so we'll spend a little more time together. But yeah, that's a liquidity circle for me. I've had it out there for a while, but now we're kind of in that moment of it's gonna happen here. Tom, can you find where the mountain is instead of the sinkhole? Wish I could, but unfortunately there's a flood coming and we can't see over the mountain. I found the mountain, but you're not gonna wanna like the mountain. See, here's the big mountain. We need to get over this mountain, but we also need to come down here, all the way down here, possibly to validate this mountaintop of consolidation. So up. I mean, these are interesting. Even the Batman. You got everything here. If we consolidate and rework the pattern, I mean, would you guys be surprised if the government was touting something the entire year about a can't miss proposition, and it was the most missed proposition in the history of history? Like it was the actual easiest can't win proposition, because the government was telling you to buy it and simultaneously regulating the market that was supposed to rally, that was supposed to be a market that was not supposed to be regulated by the government or even run by the government. So now we've turned into a regulated government that's funded, run, and controlled by the government. And they expect the volatility to be just as great, or retail expects us to have just as much money coming in or be just as volatile as back in the day. But either we have our heads up our asses so far and we just forgot what reality is, or retail's just that stupid. And we got to make an honest decision here. Like, which one is it? Like, if I say, oh, Trump this or blah, blah, Republicans or Democrats, you got half my audience that's going to punch me in the face and half of them that's going to blow me, for lack of a better way of praising this. And then if I reverse it, half my audience on the other side is going to punch me in the face, and the other half is going to, continue in the menage a trois, so to say. But I'm going to say the same thing to both sides, and the other side's going to each love it and hate it at the same time based on who I'm saying it for or against. Like, I don't know what's going on anymore. I'm getting tired of getting my nuts twisted and caressed for the same statement. Just based on which side of the aisle you're sitting on. You know, that's the kind of feeling I have right now in society. And it's like, for the ones who have their minds open and understand, and they understand really the way the world works, and they understand economics and what the implications and what's actually going on with the news and all this whitewashing and just brainwashing and all this, what is happening, and can see what's happening with the AI. Anybody who can see it, and then they look at 10 people in a room, and not 9 out of 10, all 10 of the people in the room all talk the same nonsense, and you go, you know what's funny? There isn't enough education, there isn't enough people on this planet to try to tell people the truth. It can't happen. The people are so far gone now, so far gone, that we actually have already lost and we don't know it. That's the scary part. Like, it's already over and we don't even know it. I know it because I'm real. Or not real, but I understand reality. Like, the ones who understand, that's why some people you see the I give up sense. It's not because they're ready to go, you know, off themselves. It's because they literally see the writing on the wall now. Like, there is nothing they can do, no matter if they yell or scream it from the rooftops. In fact, you don't even want to be the voice of reason, because then you look like an idiot. But, like, you can see how far it's been manipulated and twisted, that if I come on here to some of the smartest minds in my community and say, you know, Trump, I have to say that he's a dick right now because Peter Schiff came on and he was just talking on Fox and he was just talking the truth about the economy and yada, yada, yada. And then Trump called him a piece of shit and an idiot and all this stuff. And I said that that's disrespectful. And Trump said about Peter Schiff that, you know, he's a Trump deranged. He's got Trump deranged syndrome and he's a Trump hater. And he hates Trump. But to know Peter Schiff actually voted for him, told people to vote for him because he was, I mean, and then people get mad when you say that because they like Trump. And it's like, well, look at the narrative. It's not about Trump. It's about the fact that this is happening. And what, we can't say that that's just being an idiot? Like, what the hell's going on? So then you go to the other side and you start talking about Biden or anybody else or Kamala or whoever's, and it's like we can't say the truth anymore. Nobody knows what the hell's going on anymore. You know, and then like, you look at it and it's like, when the Fed talked, they basically said they have to do quantitative easing forever. Did anybody catch that? They said, well, we should be inflating the money supply as the economy grows. That's what they said, as the economy gets bigger. That's basically what they said during the stupid Fed meeting. That means they're basically saying they have to do quantitative easing forever because we are screwed. The moment we stop quantitative easing, it's over. And everybody just thinks immediately we go into risk assets. We will. But the problem is where is that buy? Is it a 10x move in cryptocurrency from here? Is it a 10x move from all of a sudden where we think we're going to have this 1,000% move, we get it, but it's 80% down from where we thought the top was? Or where were the buy? You know, that's the thing. Yes, quantitative easing. You said it, Tom, in 2020 and 2020. Yep, 21 I was talking about it, and that's why I thought we were going to get that big run. Which we did momentarily, but then they went back to QT. Well, now QE is open, and I don't know if they can ever shut it off. Atomic number 47, number 47 office. It is silver time. It's unbelievable. Jessica Garcia, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 4 years with the XRP Phoenix badge. Says, look at silver and gold. Glad we diversified, Tom. Absolutely. I'm blessed that we diversified, Jessica. And thank you, love, so much for believing in me for so many years. And paying it forward for so long. It helps more than anybody ever knows to help me do what I do here. Um, but yeah, gold at closed just below 4,300. Silver closed just under 62. Like, hey guys, and some people are saying that silver is crashing on Friday. Oh, I'm sorry, it's down 2.6% and closed at $61.92. If that's a crash, well, I love crashes because we need liquidity. And if they keep feeding this economy the way they are, I mean, this is never, it's going to, not never, but it's going to continue to go up and up and up and up and continuously flowing up and even higher and higher. And the funny thing is gold has never moved up $1 since we started talking about it. That's the sad part. Like, if anybody, if you understand how money works and how a unit of debt works, gold's not gone up. Gold is only repricing itself to what it needs to be in relation to the strength of the US dollar. That's why in other countries gold's at different prices, because it's permanently changing to reflect the strength of that native unit of debt. So by gold being at $42.99, that is telling you that your US dollar has deflated just year over year, over the last 2 years, by over 100 and something percent. It's told you that it's deflated. Remember when it was $50 an ounce? That's when the dollar was worth $50. It's deflated by that much to be at 4,300 now. That should be a scary proposition. So a lot of people will be like, I can't buy gold or silver. It's too damn expensive. No, you're trying to retain the value of your dollar as it was when you put it into the savings. So like for me, the gold I bought at 1,600 in a bar, the silver I bought at $17. Yes, things have been devalued, but my value went up in that bar just by buying it at the right time. And it wasn't even about the right time. This is one of those cases where it's not about timing the market. It's about time in market. See, this is completely different. It's a risk off asset. See, risk on is about timing, not time in. Risk on, right? Risk off is about time in market. How much can I gain of this asset? How much do I actually hold? That's what everybody wants to know, because that's your wealth. With the risk asset, who cares how much you own, because tomorrow you could be down 50% of it if you don't do it properly. It's the truth. So that's the big difference here. So that's why we store our value in a real value. So the gold's never gone up. The dollar's just being devalued. Let's see what Gemini says, if it would actually tell us the truth or not.
Since the official enactment of the gold standard in the United States, the U.S. dollar has devalued by over 99.5% in relation to gold. To calculate this, we look at the...
Did you hear that? Since the official enactment of the gold standard in the United States, the U.S. dollar has devalued by over 99.5% in gold to gold. So if you think about that, if you would have kept every dollar, if you had $1 million, you still have $1 million in the bank, right? But it's that $1 million is worth 99.5% less, which means if you would have put that $1 million into gold and let it just maintain the inflationary increase, it'd be worth 99.5% more. That means more than that, but I'm saying 99.5% loss. That means your $1 million in purchasing power is worth what? How much is that worth? $5,000? That is crazy to think. $1 million in purchasing power would be down. What would that be?
If $1 million loses 99.5% of its purchasing...
In today's value.
It sounds like you are calculating...
That's crazy to think. That is so crazy to think. So gold's never gone up. That's what I'm saying. It's insane. Man, I want to know a different. Let's just do a different perspective.
To determine how much purchasing power you have lost or gained, we need to look at two different paths: holding physical cash versus holding gold from late 2022 to late 2025. Since gold was near 1,700 IN late 2022, around October, November, and IS approximately 4,300 today, December 2025, here is how the
Okay, so here's how it would work. So if we had cash, $10,000 when gold was at 1,700, we kept it in the bank. They said cumulative inflation approximately 13.5% over 3 years. Real value today, your 10,000 buying power would roughly be $8,810, which I think that's still speculatively high. So you've effectively lost $1,190 in value, and that's just from 22 to 25. If you would have put the $10,000 in gold when it was near 1,722 instead, you would own approximately 5.88 ounces of gold. Current price is $4,300. That's $25,284. So effectively, even after adjusting for the inflation of 13.5% mentioned above, your gold is now worth roughly $22,275 and $2,022. Meaning you didn't lose purchasing power. You increased your purchasing power by 120% in 3 years. You see, that's the con. That's the con. That's how it's a store of value. The US dollar, the worth right now, if you tried to spend that $10,000 on a house, you're getting about $8,800 of purchasing power. But if you had it in a gold bar, it's now worth $22,275, even taking out the 13.5% for inflation. You've increased. That's more than a part-time job. You just made $22,000 on $10,000. Well, $12,000, but you get what I'm saying. And I see a lot of people talking about XDC, how they didn't buy a lot of stuff in the USA, and they're hesitant because it's not a USA company. I'm going to tell you right now, that mindset is going to screw you long-term on XDC. I hate to break it to you, but they're not giving any exemptions to USA companies. Did you notice the taxes this year? Not a single USA crypto got exempt of anything. It's just as bad as any foreign crypto. So people just need to stop that narrative because it's not true. When it becomes true, you can start talking about it. But they don't give a rat's ass about if you own USA crypto or foreign crypto. They're taxing you the same. They can keep talking their bullshit all they want. But until they actually change the tax code, it's one of these. It's a jerk-off fest for the USA companies like it always is. So, I mean, you want to talk truth, that's a real fact. And then everybody, see, and somebody said this, Lonzo just explained it too, and I can push further on that point. People in the USA have chosen that they don't care if they're broke as long as it looks like they have more money. So we're going the way of Venezuela. We'd rather be like, oh, we got $1 million in the bank, even though that $1 million is like $10. See, the people in Venezuela who put their dollars, their shit Venezuela, whatever they're called, into gold when it wasn't going parabolically to shit through inflation. Everybody who put that money in gold when the value was still okay in Venezuela, they're living like fucking kings. They're not pushing wheelbarrows of cash around. No one wants that shit. They want the gold and silver, believe it. They're living like kings out there if they did that. But you don't want to live like kings out there because you become targets, but also, I mean, you do because you get away from the nonsense. See, when you have enough wealth, and right now, if you have gold and silver, you really don't know what your wealth is because it doesn't nominally feel like what it could be. Yes, has it doubled and tripled in some cases? Yeah. Is it nice to see? Oh, yeah. Do you feel it? No, because you don't see it. But it's there. It's there. And I think that's the way. I think it's the way. Ethereum, If we continue down with this death cross, because we got rejected at the 200-day in blue, in the daily, we're below the 20-day in red. The next logical choice would be to come down here. In my opinion, you come down here to that 2,500 level. I think it's going to seek, if this plays properly, unless this is an inverse head and shoulders. That's the anomaly here. We don't know. Don't know if this plays out in an inverse setting. That's why we need to break this pattern first. But if it doesn't, I mean, it's going to be a problem. Lonzo says CGO is backed by gold warrants and is built on XDC. 1 gram of gold digital. Yeah, it sure is. Why do you think they've taken tax day off the calendar in 2026? Who took the tax day off in 2026? Certainly not the USA. I can assure you the tax calendar is very much in place for the US in 2026, unless I miss something. Which, Dana, if I'm wrong, I would gladly be wrong. In fact, the Fed said they had to start QE so that the banks would have enough solvency so that they could pay taxes. I'm not even kidding. They actually said that. Japan's been buying a lot of gold. They sure have, Frankie Fresh. And thanks for being in town already 6+ months with the XP Predictor and being a very trusted member in here. You and Janine. Oh, responding to you, I got you. My bad. If I got in the middle of in a conversation. John Wiseman, I remember you were talking about silver years ago when you were feeding a stray cat. What happened to that cat? Well, yeah, there was 2 stray cats that came over here, and I built a little house for them, and I put a fence around it so that they could have a little protection. And they were here for a while. One of the cats is still alive. I know we've seen it wandering. It's just an outdoor cat. We had never wanted to come inside. It was a baby at the time. Another one was a cat that looked like it had been abused. And it was like on death's doorstep. And we nursed it back to health over a series of like 6 months. I know some of you remember. Tragically, it got hit by a car out on Rochester Road over here. I didn't get to see it. I didn't see its body, but I got a call from somebody who said, I think your cat, or the cat that you've been trying to help, it was crossing, because the speculation is somebody from the apartment that's across the road just got rid of it and wouldn't let it back inside. And it looked like they had tried to kill it or something. It was in very bad shape. Like, they were very mean to the cat. I felt really bad for it. It literally slept in my garden for like a month straight, and I would put food next to it so it could eat, and I'd give it water. Anyhow, it ended up living a good life at the end, and then I think it was going back and forth trying to find it in the dark, and it got hit one early morning on the way people traveling to work. But at least I was able to give it like 8 months of love, so it didn't go out feeling like it was alone. But still, you could tell it was trying to find its home. So, not cool. And then I found another cat. It stumbled from, I seen a missing cat sign, and it was about 1.5 miles down the road where the cat wandered from. And it actually went into this 2.5 years later, into this thing I built because I kept it outside. And the cat wandered into there, and I put food in there, and then I was able to call the owner, and they were able to reunite. The lady was crying when she came back, and that was a good experience. So I was able to reunite a kitty. That was this year, I believe, in 2025. Yeah, the feral cats, I mean, they're interesting because they don't really like human contact at first, but... Hello, Mr. Tom. Just wanted to ask for your future classes. Is it possible to pay you USDT? Well, we'll have to look at options because I've definitely been asked by some people who have different ideas of what they want to do. We'll discuss that. Mr. Stott, thanks for being in town zone for over 3 months with the XP Meteor. Says the mist is like a cat whisperer. So Mrs. Stott's like a cat whisperer. I kind of am, well, not kind of. I am too with animals. I don't know what it is. I even got my squirrel friends that walk right up to the front door now with me, and they walk by me. It's taken 2 years or 3 years, but they walk up. They always have their hands on their hearts. I like feeding the animals. A lot of birds out there because I put seed. I figure if I put them out there, they don't have to burn so much energy trying to find it in the wintertime. Because, you know, it's cold. They burn a lot of energy, so they got to get a lot of food. Look at band continues down 3.34%. I love the just let it happen motto. Just let it happen. And see what we're seeing with band if it were back testing. That's why we need to let it happen. If this is a back test and it does happen to hold this, we could get a volatile spike back up to the breakdown at 381. But if it's not, it's telling us that we could start heading down 312, maybe down towards 11, 12, 13 cents. You can't try to trap them and get them fixed. Nah, I don't like to take the cats out of the wild to get them fixed and given shots. See, it's my personal experience. I don't do all the nonsense to the cats. I mean, sometimes they'll be fixed, obviously, when you buy them. But I never take, well, I don't want to say it because somebody might, but I don't take them to get all these stupid shots. And my cats and animals live 2 to 3 times longer than anybody else's I know. As a kid, I couldn't understand why all my families, like my relatives or my friends' animals are all dying and they're getting new animals every 4 or 5, 6 years. Maybe 8 years if they're lucky. And I've got animals, my dog was 18. And my cats are always in their 20s. Unless something happens, they'll be like 18. But, no, I understand what you're saying for multiplying. I get that. I get that. She's got raccoons and a possum that come around with the cat and chickens. Somehow everyone gets along. Oh, I love it. In my yard, I love it. See, Mrs. Stout would like it in our yard. Same thing. I've got my cat. Well, it tries to bother the birds, but they get along with the birds and the squirrels. There's possums and, well, there's 2 skunks that were coming around. I haven't seen them in a while. Not too encouraged by the skunks, but they seem to fit in too at night. And then there's raccoons. And then we've seen, we had like a groundhog friend, and we've had like little, yeah, there's been some cool friends. I'd like to see them with chickens. I'd like to see with the chickens. We're allowed to have a couple chickens where I live. It's in our, ordinance. We're allowed to have, I think, 2 or 3 chickens. They just have to be in a metal fenced area, yada, yada, yada. And you can't have the one, so you have to have this. But, yeah, sardines every once in a while. See, John, you get it. You get it. Japan cuts live 22 years. Americans live average to 12. Yep. That's because a cat's supposed to live that long. And think about it. And this is my argument to everybody. If they're out in the wild, they seem to live just fine. Now, normally a cat will die because, 1, they get hit by a car. 2, they get caught by a vulture because, that sometimes they get scooped up and it's just the way it goes. It's like whole life. 3, in the winter times, they can freeze to death. But very rarely is it just because, they died because they didn't get the blah, blah, blah. Most of the time, once they get that, is when they start having all these problems. So, well, not most of the time. But that's just, I don't even want to get into it. It's a nightmare subject, and most people get so offended by it that you can't even talk about it. IOTA's down 3.6%. Epic's down 6.5%. Here's one that is back to where it was at on Friday, but it makes it, it was down at 47 Friday. It had a run up to 52, and here we are coming back to where we were. So, yeah, it's down 6.5, but it's just giving back what it had. But it's given, every time you go up to false breakouts, you build more of a opportunity for a bigger drop. That's the problem with all of this. The more you do that, the more you can drop farther. But understand, when you have money on the sideline, or if you've liquidated out of this market, the ability you've got this by the balls right now. You've got it by the balls. 1, if you have any money left, you're in control. And 2, if you were able to get away from your emotional tug and actually get away from the market some time ago, you're in such control. John, I don't know. I don't know why it came out like that. Sola Jeffy says I had the best cat ever. His name, ironically, was Tom. I love it. I love it. Mr. Stott says the cat didn't die by missing its jam. That is true. I don't even remember what I said for the. What did I do it like a rooster? Cockable. You know, I don't even know what I did. Blah, blah, blah. Almost like a turkey. But yeah, I mean, this is what I'm seeing in the market today. Like I see us at some of these threshold moments. And like USDT continues to just paint the wrong narrative for us. USDT right now, I can still make the case that, yeah, maybe we come up and get rejected here at 6.7. But if we were to break out of here, I could still make the case for this to build some kind of handle out. Because we had a perfect head, shoulder, bottom. But yeah, I mean, I want to see this break down in our favor, but right now it's not. Right now it just continues to kind of get some pressure. And what it means by the stable coin, when that dominance is going up, it means more people are unwilling to put their money in the risk asset itself, and they'd rather put it in the stable coin for a 1-to-1 ratio with the dollar. Even if the dollar is being devalued, they don't see any value of holding it in a risk asset. So that's a dangerous proposition. Very dangerous proposition what's happening here across the board. We're below the 866 here, and the technical drop down would be, if this was a rejection, I mean, you're looking at 516 if it made the perfect drop. I mean, these are big drops if it happened. And then the others, if it continues down this little trend, they're all big drops if they were to drop down. So we'll see what happens here. We'll see if these markets melt down to the October 10th low, what this Bank of Japan whole mess has to do. But I'm going to go because my son's out here. It's been a great hour.